recording? Well, let me share the screen for you. Yes. Now, Puta, the lesson today is all about how to look at an authentic journal article, how to grasp or get extracts from that, how to put some of the informations you extracted from these articles and how can they be embedded in your writing, in your synthesis, and how such uh, an academic synthesis could be achieved in classroom activity or rather in your university life, right? Now, if you could remember, the other day I was explaining you some of the features of journal articles, right? So what you can see here on top is actually the so-called front matter. In every journal article, there is something called front matter on which you will see, as you see, the article title and then who contributed to the article, particularly who are the authors, and each author's affiliation, or rather from which institute they are coming from, right? And there comes the abstract. An abstract is actually the first point where we start reading. Now, as you evolve into an academic, and of course, when you start studying for your degree program, don't ever think that you'll have time and chance and, you'll have opportunity to read an entire length article because it's very rare that a random learner reads the entire article and get everything, right? You don't need to actually. So you can specifically pick up the things that you really need and you can simply avoid the things that you don't really need. So I'm inviting you, uh, Sahanya, to look at the abstract, right? And in this abstract, you will see that it's written below 250 words, but abstract brings lots of data in a summary form in the front matter of the article. So shall we read the abstract, Sahanya? We have Navidu as well. Navidu, you are now cited in Sabaragama University as well. Are you following your degree there? Okay, great, great. Until Navidu replies me, we are going to look at the front matter of the journal article. Now, for Navidu's information, Navidu, if you are there, let me show you. Now, what you see on screen is a typical, authentic, high-level journal article. Journal article has something called front matter, which means, what comes in the front, like in a book cover page, right? So you see the article title, and this will indicate what the article is all about. And then you will see the authors who wrote the article, and then you will see their affiliation from which institutes, from which universities they are coming from. And then comes the most important point of any article. What is it? Abstract, which is highlighted here. Right. Now, if you can remember, the other day, I happened to teach you a simple structure that is universal in all academic journal articles, and I'm going to put what are the items that I talk in journal article. If you could remember before abstract, right? After the abstract, the article comes, and in article, you will find something called I, which indicates introduction, and then M. M stands for methods, right? Then R, results, and then simple A, that is to say end, the discussion. And perhaps there can be another element called conclusion, right? That is a must, but IMRAD is a central structure. Now, if you look at this IMRAD structure, it helps us to grasp most of the academic articles' data points in an easy way. Easy way in the sense, if you are to read the whole article, you are going to actually waste a lot of your time. But if you are to simply read the specific information from the article, then you are going to save a lot of time and you are going to efficiently grasp the whole content of the article. So when you go ahead with the reading of your abstract, you have to find, maybe you might take short notes on sticky notes or Word document or in manual form, where the things related to I comes, the things related to M comes, the things related to D comes, and things related to C comes. Because in abstract, you will see it's a very smaller, or rather very essence statement of IMRAD structure, right? Is my information clear up to now, Buddha? If it is clear, you can say a thumbs up. With that, we can go ahead. You can indicate a thumbs up, then we can go ahead. Thank you, Sahanya and Navindu. Okay. Well, while we are reading,
Yes, exactly.
Navindu, Buddha, you were trying to tell something. I couldn't grasp it. Can you tell it again?
I say that yes, I cleared that
All
you
right.
said.
Okay. Great. So while we are reading the abstract, you are going to grasp the M, R, D, and C components that you see in the abstract, right? Okay. Let us read all three of us. You don't need to switch on your microphone, but read with me as I'm reading, right? Okay. Abstract. 3, 2, 1, we are reading. Worldwide energy costs have grown in recent years due to the dwindling global fossil fuel resources and the increased reliance on them for global energy production. This is a common scenario in many nations, including Sri Lanka. As a developing country, Sri Lanka should encourage the diversification of its renewable energy supplies using locally available resources. In this regard, Sri Lanka can promote the use of agricultural residues for energy generation. Okay, let me ask one thing. Up to this point, if you look at, what can you say? What is this? What it indicates? Is it I, M, R, A, or D? What is it? Yep, I'm waiting for your response. No need to bother much. It is I, introduction. In this introduction, you'll see that, the authors are bringing a global picture, a worldwide picture first, and then narrow it down to the very scope that the study sets in, right? ලෝක චිත්‍රය අරගෙන ඒකෙන් මේ පර්යේෂණයට අදාළ වෙන සන්දර්භයට නැරෝ කරලා එක හරියටම ફોකස් කරලා කාරණයට එනවා බලන්න sentence දෙකයි sentence තුනයි that tells the introduction, right? So what it tells, energy costs have grown, right? And fossil fuel reliance is very high, right? It's common everywhere. Sri Lanka is also a case. Okay. What else? As a developing country, අපිට සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා renewable energy diversification. Now we have hydropower, which is a renewable source, and we have wind power, which is a renewable source, and we have the photovoltaic units or solar power, which is a renewable source. But just having three sources of renewable is not enough. They are talking about diversification, making use of all renewable energy sources. You know what is renewable energy source? Can somebody answer the question? What is renewable energy and what is renewable energy sources? Because you all are from STEM backgrounds, I know that you guys do know. You can either speak or send it in chat. You know, in energy crisis, I'm taking this very article to a very serious discussion for one reason, Putha. The reason is that there will be a very big assessment that we'll be taking from you to award you a transcript. Now, for attending this course, we can simply give you a certificate of participation, but in addition to attending, we'll be giving you a transcript telling what we did with you and in each of the assessment criteria is what you have gained, right? That's going to be very, very significant for you, right? And for that, we'll be taking the biggest assessment, which is an academic essay, right? And the academic essay is going to be actually set in the topic that on the article that we are discussing today. Therefore, keep your eye very keenly on this. My question is, what is renewable energy? Or what are renewable energy sources? Do you have any idea, Pudha? Yes, we are getting the ideas. Solar, wind energy. Okay, okay. Thank you, Navindu. Now, well, let me put this in context. Sahanya, now when we generate energy, yes, I'm getting Sahanya's answer as well, I wish. C wave, okay, okay, okay. So you are simply listing out the renewable energy sources. Okay. If I happen to ask, what do how do you define renewable energy sources? How can you define it now? Energy sources are different, basically twofold, fossil and renewable. You know, fossil fuel or whatever fossil sources are already fossilized. You know, they take longer time to regenerate that fossilized sources. And once you harvested fossil energy, there is no way that it is created again. You know, the very source is not actually renewing. Renewing in the sense it does not fill again. When you take crude oil, when you take any of the products that is there in fossil fuel, you know, you take it, that's all. And to generate fossil fuel, it takes longer time, you know, millions of years. But renewable energy is something else. What happens in renewable energy is renewable energy actually renews every day. Say, for example, solar. So every day when the sun rises, you get the source available. And wind energy, every day when the wind blows, you get the energy source. And every day when the sea creates its waves, you get the sea wave. And the same way, renewable energy sources actually are renewing because we can't say never ending, but they are renewing every day. So the global trend of renewable energy is that rather than using fossil fuels, which take millions of years to generate its sources, it is good for every nation to go into energy sources which are renewing every day so that you are assured that your energy is something that you get every day as you get your air to breathe, as you get your sun light to, have the day. You got the point? So that is renewable energy. Okay. Now see, global picture of renewable energy and then fossil fuels and renewable energy and then Sri Lanka is placed and then the case is set. What is it? Sri Lanka can promote the use of agricultural residues for energy generation. You see, in these two particular lines, these writers actually take what? Take the turn to the paper. What is the turn? In the global energy crisis domain, we are looking at how to address it from Sri Lankan scenario and how in Sri Lanka this could be resolved. Did you get the point? Did you get the point, my dear kids? So such a turn is a must in any abstract, any research article. And of course, when you're writing even your essay, such a turn should be taken. You start with a very big picture in the introduction and then narrow it down to your focus, and finally you give the turn where your particular study sets in. Are you clear about what I said? I'm switching on camera once again to indicate you that I'm here, right? But you see that my lighting conditions are not so good. Therefore, I will switch it off, right? Well, did you get the idea of turn and introduction? Hello, say yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So this particular part sets the intro. Let me annotate it with highlighter. So this particular part actually sets the intro. So you will see at the end of today's discussion that even the very idea of abstract itself is IMR-ready mini structure, right? Okay, okay. I want you to read the next half, starting from the present. You see now, when the writer indicates the turn, now the writer takes it to the discussion. The present work, read with me, the present work explores the energy potential of the solid waste generated by rice industry. Global picture, renewable energy, Sri Lankan picture, and then locally available resources. And this article is set on what? Solid waste generated by rice industry, rice straw and rice husk. You see, in the very first instance, they have given abbreviations for rice straw and rice husk. Now remember, when you see such an abbreviation appear on the introduction or next to it, they are clear indicators that these are the matters of central attention in this research paper, right? So this is how you should read. Okay. So what is their point? They take rice straw and rice husk as material, which are solid waste generated in rice industry. You know, we create rice every year, every carnier, and there is a waste, rice straw and rice husk. And this article talks about how can we use those biomass to create energy, right? Okay, okay. Now, still we are in introduction. Shall I read the next sentence? A new approach was developed using statistical data on rice production and paddy cultivation in each district of the island. The obtained data were integrated into a geographic information system to provide geo-referenced results. A physico-chemical characterization of RS and RH, you know what is RS and RH, was conducted to correlate the properties of raw materials to their potential energy generation. An energy generation technology, the great fired combustion boiler accompanied by steam turbine cycle. They are also given abbreviations was selected. What do you think this particular highlighted area is indicating? What does it say? Now, in any research, there has to be a central method which is scientific used to create this new knowledge, or rather the finding of the article. What is this? What does this indicate? Can you give me a response? What does this part indicate? Sahanya, can I hear from you? What is it? Necessarily methods, particularly the methodology aspect. Yes, we got it. Now, you see, there is an introduction and then there is a little note about methods. Now, you and me are going to read the next half, right? Okay, get ready, get ready, get ready. Our findings show that the total energy capacity using byproducts of the rice industry is estimated to be 2,229.24 kilotons year of primary energy, with a capacity of 977 megawatt electricity, producing 5.65 terawatt hours of electricity annually. You see that biomass alone can create this much of electricity annually. An economic analysis shows 10 districts have high profit index. Now, if this is applied in district-wise, there are high profit index districts. The districts in the highest PI values are Anuradhapura, Ampara, Polonnaruwa, and Kurunegala, with annual energy potential of 286 kilotons of biomass, 279 kilotons of production, and respectively. You see, what are they? What do they indicate? Navindu? This is no doubt what? The results. So there is a research, followed a particular method, and from that they got results. Did you get the point? I wish you got. Navindu is disconnected, but he'll be back. Sahanya, I wish you got. Can I move to the last part? Sahanya? Well, so what is the last part indicate? This work aims to aid future policy decisions by identifying potential districts in which to develop infrastructure for energy generation using agricultural waste, thus reducing net greenhouse gas emissions of Sri Lanka. So that is the broader objective, or rather broader take-home message, or rather the impact it created. So in abstract, Sahanya, you noted that even the abstract is an IMRAD mini structure. Did you notice that? Did you notice that? I wish you did. Can you indicate me whether you have noted it? Why did I take this discussion today is, Putha, to convince you that Unlike reading a textbook, reading these articles, particularly authentic ones, which are updating every day, they are capable of giving you much better, easy, and of course to the point data, up to date from the industry, from the world, right? With that, certainly you all can gather knowledge faster than you get them from the textbooks. Is the first half clear, Buddha, about the introduction, or rather about the abstract? Then, Buddha Sahanya, you don't need to read the entire article. Why? When you read through the abstract, you realize what is it all about, what is the method used, what are the results generated, and what are the big impact it creates. Do you see? And when you get these four, or rather get these 200 words or less number of text is read by you, that gives you an initial idea about the article, whether you should further read it. Are you getting me, Sahanya? Please indicate a little with me because I'm speaking to a screen. Yeah. සහනේ පුතේ ඔයා කතා කරන්න ඕනේ ඔයා කතා කරන්නේ හරි අඩුවෙන් right මම දන්නේ නැහැ මගේ කනගාටුව තියෙන්නේ දැන් ඔයාව දෙන මේ chance එක make use of it to the maximum because if you unmute your mic and speak with us you'll gain confidence to speak with anyone, right? So don't lose that chance because there aren't much, only you and me, and perhaps just one more, right? So in such a little what we call little resourceful environment, you should use your mic on and speak with me, right? Okay, no worries. Okay, now we are going back to the I'm going to clear all drawings and I'm going to do a pre-reading activity. As you can see on screen, Putha, you'll see the last pre-reading activity given in today's session. Can you click on it and start doing it? This is before we read the rest of the article. Please take the quiz and try to do it. Sahane, you can share your screen and do it. You don't need to know much about the article before we do, when we do this, because it's a free reading activity. Without reading the article, you can do it. You can share your screen, Buddha. Please do so and do it. Okay. Go down to the bottom. Yes, pre-reading task. Choose it. And attempt the quiz. You actually don't need to read the article first. You can do it with your gut feeling. You have to type it out. You can pick up one of the two byproducts of. Maybe it is about the context of the research. Is it world, South Asia, or Sri Lanka? Now, Vindu, if you are there, what she is doing is doing the pre-reading activity, which is on Moodle. I want you also to log in and do it. You don't need to read the article to do this. With your gut feeling and your general knowledge, you can do it. Now, Sahanya, you don't need to, you may try. Now, you have to make sure that you're reading and getting information from here and there. You have to find facts. You have time to do that. Take facts from the article and fill it. Now, Navida and Sahanya, when you read the question, upon your first reading, you understand, oh my God, this should come in introduction. This should come in methods. This should come in discussion or elsewhere. So you can navigate through those titles in the article to find your information, right? If it is just the gist of information, you can find it in abstract as well, right? So that is what the strategy I want you to practice here. Sahanya, recommendations usually come in the conclusion and following section. So you can go there and find it. And maybe it can appear towards the end of the discussion as well. So find it between end of the discussion and conclusions. Discussion usually is the one before the conclusion. Maybe the two paragraphs near. Yeah, there. You can triangulate your understanding by looking back at the abstract as well. Sahanya, answer is there. Where? In the if you go back, just after this big picture, figure 9, business associated with RS and RH power plants, if you read the next paragraph, next two paragraphs, you will find the answer for that. And if you're unsure about the answer, don't worry, you can move ahead with your quiz, leaving it blank. Sahanya, yes, let me help you. The very recommendation is not given in recommendation terms, right? And for that, you have to actually read the article, but let me help you. The article suggests infrastructure support and policy support to make this thing better apply across Sri Lanka. So you can fill the last answer with that. Policy support and infrastructure support. Sahane, have you submitted your quiz? Recommends policy support and better infrastructure to scale up the. You have to feel it, right? Infrastructure. Okay, you can finish the attempt and you'll be able to see your marks. You have to continue with the attempt and finish. So you don't need to reattempt because you have gotten 9.13. Maybe finally the article recommends there is one S added support only. Okay, it's not a big mistake. You can go ahead. Don't worry. Okay, submit and finish, and please come back to the discussion. If you can stop sharing, we can come back to the discussion with what we are supposed to do next. Okay. Now, Sahanya, one question. Is referring to journal articles a difficult thing if you know where comes what information? Is it difficult or is it something easier? Navindu, I wish you also made an attempt doing the quiz. Yes. Now we are going to actually take some information from this article and develop our own write-up or synthesis, our own writing using some of the text taken from this article. And we are going to try how this could be taken as quotations, summaries, or whatever paraphrases. And we are going to try referencing as well so that you are better equipped to do your final assessment, which is academic essay writing. Are you ready? Shall we go there? If you're ready to go there, please indicate so that I can move ahead. Great. So now we have studied an article, we looked at its front matter, which is abstract, and we tried with bit of extracting information from it and filling some information gap by which we happen to interact with the article. Now we are going to take some of the quotations taken from this article in one of your writing attempts. For that, we actually have set some lesson goals. And the first goal is, now when you're taking some information from a given article, you have to decide how do you take it. How do you take, in the sense, there are three ways that you can take information from an original article to your write-up, right? Imagine that you are writing an essay and you want to write some information taken from this article, right? So first thing is, when and why you quote. Quoting means you are taking the self-same words written by the author, maybe a phrase, maybe a sentence, maybe a whole paragraph, whatever length. If you take something which is very nicely written by the original article, author, and you feel like taking it in the mid of your writing can better express the logic that you try to express in your essay. So in such a position, you have to take a quotation. When you're taking quotation, you have to use quotation marks and you have to take the verbatim copy of the extract quote. Okay. So these are some lesson goals we set. We need to identify when and why we quote, and how to integrate quotations, and how quotation can be indicated with a signal phrase. You write something and then signal that you are taking quotation from a particular article. And then once you take the quotation, you have to actually interpret the quotation. You cannot simply take someone else's quotation in the mid of your article and simply move. You have to interpret that quotation, and then you should be able to appropriate sources correctly. Now, today we'll be trying it with APA style, but your style is IEEE style, which is easier, right? APA I took because the APA is a bit of a complex method, but in comparison to APA and IEEE is quite easy, right? Okay, so those are the lesson goals. With that, we are looking at the article. Now, here you see Ilankon et al. 2022. Why do we call Ilankon et al.? What does this mean? Can someone indicate what et al. Means? Now, this et al., let me explain it. Et al. Is an indication of Ilan Khan and many other authors, right? You have seen that in this article, it's not Ilan Khan alone. There are about 4 or 5 authors who happen to contribute to this article. When you cite an article written by many people, many authors, we take the first author's surname and then we indicate et al. And others, Kenadasa, and then within brackets we give the year of publication, right? Now you see the article, how article actually is attributed in our writing. You see, ඔන්න අපි කියනවා එක්තරා ආටිකල් එකක ඉලන්කෝන් සහ තවත් අය agricultural byproducts හරි renewable energy විදිහට පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා අධ්‍යයනය කරලා තියෙනවා, right? So you're going to put that idea in your writing like this. As you see, Ilankon et al. 2022 examined how agricultural byproducts, especially rice husk and straw, can generate renewable electricity in Sri Lanka. Now you see what you are doing here is quite simply, you indicate your readers that you are going to cite a real article, real scientific work done by someone, right? So this indication is given, okay? And then you have the quotation. Here is the quotation given in quotation marks. The total energy capacity using byproducts of the rice industry is estimated to be 2229.24 keto per year of primary energy with a capacity of 977 megawatt electricity producing 565 terawatts of electricity annually. Now, this is basically the big outcome of that research. What it says, it has this much of waste, and with that, this much of megawatt can be created, which is annually, if you take it, this much of terawatts. So that is a central finding of that article. Now you simply take them in quotation marks, right? Now I am setting a question. Are these information, are they fact or are they opinion or are they interpretations? What is your answer? The very thing I have given on the slide within quotation marks with reference to the particular article, are they facts or are they opinions or are they interpretations? Tell me quickly. Respond in chat, please. What I have given on screen on this slide, are they facts or are they opinion or are they rather interpretations? Sahanya admits that they are facts. Okay. What about you, Navidu? Are they facts, opinions, or interpretations? Navidu is missing in the connection. Yeah, he is having a very, uh, very fragile connection. Okay, no worries. So, Sahanya, you identified that they are facts. Why? They are actually facts collected from the field and written in a research paper. Okay. So, since they are facts, you indicate from where the fact is taken, and then you quote the fact, and then there has to be what? An interpretation, because you have quoted it. Quoted in the sense you have taken the direct wordings from the original article by Ilankon and others. Now you have to interpret this whole thing in your article, then only you make it part of your writing. Because just telling these people did this art research and it tells this, it does not make any synthesis. හරිද? මේ පර්යේෂකයෝ මේක කියලා තියෙනවා කියලා එයාගේ කොටේෂන් එකක් දැම්ම පමණින් ඒක ඔයාගේ synthesis එක ඒක ඔයාගේ රචනාව බවට පත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. To make it your synthesis, you have to give your interpretation. Can I give you just 2 minutes, Sahanya, to write an interpretation to this particular thing which you will use in your write-up? Now, imagine that you indicated the article context like this. Ilankon and others examined how agricultural byproducts can generate renewable electricity in Sri Lanka. And then you took this quotation, and now it is your time to appropriate this quotation in your interpretation. Take time, maybe 2 to 5 minutes, and write your interpretation and send it on chat. Wish you are working, Sahanya. Are you? The leftover material in rice industry such as straw and husk can be used to generate energy. Well, so that is your interpretation. So you can add little bit more facts like, every year we happen to dump these as, hard to digest material back to the environment, or else we use them just as fertilizer in the paddy field. But if we generate electricity from this biomass, even their decaying process is easy, and perhaps after electricity generation, the waste dust could be used as fertilizer in the same field. So they have much more economic benefits. So you can add that interpretation towards the end of this uh, quotation. Did you get my point, Putam? Sahanya? So we'll move to the next slide. What it tells. This is an extract once I'm taking from the same article, right? Utilizing biomass from agricultural residues could support rural livelihood while reducing the national dependence on imported fossil fuels. Now, there are two facts taken in. Utilizing biomass from agricultural residues could support rural livelihoods. Now, there is life in rural areas, they could be supported. That is one way of economic benefit. Then other way of economic benefit is we are as a nation is highly depending on imported fossil fuels. We can reduce that, right? Okay. If you can now get this particular quotation into one of your writings, and if you can elaborate on these two aspects and write some interpretation on it, I think that's gonna test your creativity as well as your ability to write and synthesis an academic essay. So, Sahanya, it's your turn now. Here on screen, you see another extract, and you are going to extract the same thing in your article or your write-up of essay, right? And by citing this quotation, then you go to interpret it, talking about the two benefits, two economic benefits it can bring to the country. So it's your time. Take about 5 minutes and do it. Sahanya, do you need more time? So, Buddha, I'm giving you a little more time. Thank you. You sent it? Yep. Let me read it out for you. Yes. Using biomass from farm waste helps in two ways. First, it gives the country a clean energy source, so we don't have to rely so much on buying fossil fuels from other places. Second, it helps people in rural areas earn money and improve their lives by turning waste into something useful. So it's good for both the environment and the economy. Yeah, good. That's a good way of doing it. So this is, Putha, how we actually take information from the sources and you quote them and you attribute it to your write-up with bit of interpretation, right? So we have done two experiments with the same article, and let's move what is on the slides. Yeah. This slide asks why use quotations now. You know that when you're taking information from original articles to your write-up, there are three ways that you can take them. First thing is quotations, the second thing is paraphrasing, and the third thing is summarizing, right? And today we are going to particularly look at why use quotations, right? Now remember, when you want to actually provide the accurate evidence or data, if you could remember the first extract we used, it exactly tells how much of kilowatt of weight, how much of metric tons of waste, and how much of energy production and what is the annual energy harvest that we could earn. Now, when you get accurate evidence, you directly cite from the original article with a quotation, right? That is one of the ways that you should use quotations. Second point is to preserve technical precision. So, for example, if you want to indicate that you cite actually the exact figures given in the original article. So, if you are just attributing exact figures alone in your interpretation, that actually reduces the weight of your argument. Instead, you can take and ensure technical precision of your writing by taking the real figures from the article as it is in the quotation. So that's what you did, right? And the third thing is when you particularly say that you took it from Ilankon and others' article, and when you directly quote it, what happens in your write-up is you actually show a credible source and authority. Now, you tell your reader who reads your write-up that you have cited credible article and that authority is actually added to the strength of your write. Okay? The last thing is the exact quotation that you take can support your arguments in your interpretation, or else they can actually even contrast your argument in your interpretation. So, in these four instances, when you want to provide accurate evidence, when you continue to preserve the technical precision with exact figures and units, And when you want to show authority of your credible reference source, and when you want to contrast and support your argument, you typically take quotations. So never hesitate to take others' write-ups, others' publications, others' facts, take them, cite them properly, and interpret it appropriately so that you will develop your write-up. Did you get the point, Puta? If you give me a thumbs up, I know that you got it. And then we can move to the next slide. Just a couple of slides to go. And with that, I'll be bringing the discussion today into conclusion. Can you move ahead, Puta? Did you get what? Okay, let's move on. When not to quote, that is the next thing. Now you know when to quote, right? You have to distinguish when shouldn't you quote, or rather when you shouldn't use a quotation, right? If you see that there is a quotation that you wish to use in your writing from an original article, but you understand that better than the original writer wrote it, you can nicely paraphrase it into your own words. Then don't take the quotation, paraphrase it. But even in paraphrasing, you have to give the citation. Ilan Kohn and others in 2022 article says, then you can add your paraphrase, right? And if you feel like that you take an extract fact from the original article, but still the very wording, very sentence, and very way it is written has no any special value. It's just simple writing. Then you can go on to paraphrase. You get the point? And if you feel like you happen to quote many times from the same article, then don't go on doing it for one more time. Instead, get it, get it into your paraphrase. Now, when you take quotation, actually you are disturbing or you are taking your voice little a step back. Taking your step back, you quote the original right, and then in your interpretation you bring, or rather you forefront your voice again. In this particular exercise, your voice is little reduced or lowered. But if you paraphrase, or rather if you summarize an article's information into your write-up, then you actually bring your voice much into the article. I wish you got my point. And those are the places where you shouldn't use quotations, but use the other strategies, paraphrasing and summarizing. Is it clear, Bhute? I believe yes. Now look at the very typical structure of integrating a quotation. You look at the example. According to Ilan Kohn et al. 2022, you see, comma, then begins the paraphrase, not the paraphrase quotation. The total energy capacity using byproducts of the rice industry is estimated to be keto for year of primary energy. You see, there are three things in it. First thing is, you have a signal praise. What is the signal praise here? According to Ilan Kohn and others. So you signal that you are citing someone else. And then you start quotation marks. And then you have to give APA citation. Now here you have given Ilan Kohn et al. 2022, but you have missed one thing. What is it? At the end of the quotation mark within brackets, you have to give the page number if you are citing it using APA style, right? But if you are using IEEE style, you don't need to give that page number, right? You just have to indicate number one within parentheses, the square brackets. That's how they appear in integrated quotation. Is it clear, Buddha? This is about elaborating how you can take a quotation into your write-up. Is it clear? Sahanya? Yes. Now you have a little bit of a homework. What's it? You have to write a sentence that interrogates this quotation, right? Agricultural biomass projects could support both rural and this is the second, not second extract. This is the third extract. Yes, agricultural biomass projects could support both rural livelihoods and national energy security, right? So you have to follow that step. What? Signal phrase, and then take the quotation, and then you give your citation and all that. This you can do as a homework. You don't need to try it right now. Do it as a homework and post it on the WhatsApp group. Well, with that, let's move on to the next. Here, the next thing is interpretation, right? Use the quotation and below. Now, we have understood how a quotation and the reference could be given with a signal. Hurry. Now we go into your interpretation, right? Look at the quotation. This represents a major potential for decentralized renewable energy generation in rural Sri Lanka. Okay, this is your quotation. And try to answer these questions. What decentralized means? How does this fact support sustainable development? Now see, centralized means, everything happens in a central point. Decentralized means the same thing happens in many places around. Say, for example, now energy generation, electricity generation is done centrally in government plants and distributed, right? Renewable energy also the same. They are collected in places centrally. But this very particular idea that the article provides is a way of decentralizing renewable energy generation in Sri Lanka because it's not in cities, it's not in riverbanks, it's not in the deserted areas that we are going to do it. We are going to do it in the areas where agriculture is the central economic activity. And on top of the agricultural products, we are going to take a renewable energy plant where we are using rice straw and rice skin to produce electricity, right? So this actually decentralized energy generation in Sri Lanka. And see how you can interpret. Now, in your interpretation, you can say that most of the power generation attempts are done centrally by the government in central locations. So it needs another grid to transport that energy around the island to the national grid and then to the places where it is consumed. But in distant rural areas like Ampara and those districts indicated here, in these rural areas, you can actually generate renewable energy using these plants annually, and that electricity could be distributed within the same area alone. With that, you decentralize the renewable energy, and of course, this is sustainable because the waste of electricity when they are sent through the national grid along long ways can be reduced. That's number one. Number two, to rural areas like this, you don't need to get lengthy extensions of electricity cables coming so that the production happens in the rural area. And of course, that production could be used in the energy requirement of the area alone. So this is how you can go into interpretation, right? And I wish you can do that task as well as a homework, right? So one thing before we end up, whenever you take a quotation, remember you have to cite the original author. And if the quotation is taken, you have to use quotation marks, right? And when you interpret, don't try to alter the numbers in it or meaning because you have to use the same quotation to the meaning the writer identified, writer pitched therein, right? So those are things that we consider as ethics of using quotations, right? So what we learned today, Sahanya, are you there? What you learned today? Today we have learned how to refer to an authentic journal article, how to read its front matter and see whether it's relevant. And we have identified how IMRAD structure appears in the article. And then we came to how to use a quotation, and we happen to discuss that there is a signal line that you write indicating that you are citing from someone else. Then comes quotation marks and the quotation, and then the reference, and then you go on interpreting, right? And you integrate the whole thing, explaining your matter or logic, keeping your voice around words, and finally, whenever you take someone else's knowledge, you cite it accurately. These are typical, ethical, academic integrity matters that you have to maintain in your university writings. Did you learn something today, Budhe? And I'm going to develop the big activity that we are going to assess from you. The big essay. I want about 1,500 words essay on renewable energy sources and the ways that we can do. I'll draft it and post it. You can use this article as one of the articles that you referred, and you can use the strategies you learned today to do that write-up. And in addition to this article, you have to find two more articles supporting the same theme and take it and write it up. So that is going to be your big assessment task. And Sahanya, with that, we are indicating that we are coming to the tail end of the program. In a couple of weeks to come, we'll be bringing you to the peak of academic writing and integrity learning, and we'll be putting you in testing, and we'll be concluding it by the end of this month. So before I wind up, can I hear whether you have learned something today, and is it going to make any sense in your academic life? I would love if you can speak it out rather than typing it. I don't mind how low you speak, but just speak it out and tell me. Sahanya?